to start. It's a sensitive topic. So generally, death is not separate from living. So there is a very close connection with these two. So it's not totally two separate things. So very close related. And especially for us who consider ourselves as a practitioner, and it is even more connected. There is even more close connection with these two. So why I'm saying these two have very close connection is because how you die, the way you die is very much related to how you live. So that's the one thing, and actually we make actually we are supposed to not make big deal about death, and we should make big deal about living. But what we do is totally opposite. We make a very big deal about dying and the death, and we don't make big deal about living. And for the death, we shouldn't make big deal about death. We shouldn't shout and cry and big deal about death. At that time, it is not time to making big deal. It is time to rest, relax. So that is one thing that we should know. Then, so about death. So death, the nature or the death itself is actually unavoidable. So that is one aspect of nature of death, which is unavoidable. And another one is it is unpredictable. And then the third one is it is painful. So unavoidable, we can't do anything. We can't avoid death. Forget about us, even Buddha also couldn't avoid it. So it is a very clear proof that it is unavoidable. If it is avoidable, anything which is avoidable, I don't think there is that which Buddha cannot avoid. So it is unavoidable, and that part we can't do much. We can't do anything. That's one thing. Then the second one is it is unpredictable. So that also quite difficult. It is almost like it is not in our hand. We can't predict you know, how long we're gonna live, or which way, or when we're gonna pass away, we can't say. So it is totally unpredictable, and there is a second nature of death. And that is also not in our hand. Then the third one is, it is painful, you know. But then good news is that is in our hand, you know. So whether we die painfully, or we die less pain, or we die without any pain, that is totally in our hand, you know. So that is very good news. And when we you know, when I teach, you know, I will it will come, you know, how one can die peacefully without much pain. Okay, and then these three things. Why I'm saying that whether we die peacefully or whether we die happily, not or whether we die painfully, is totally in our hand, is because it is also mentioned that in Tibetan text that chiwa chiwa mind nemjur sangchung jawais. So actually, death is not just a death, you know. So death is a small enlightenment, you know. So it's a tiny enlightenment. So there are many occasions in our life that we have a glimpse of that experience, you know, that enlightenment. Especially people who does meditation, people who do practice. Even if we are not practitioner or meditator, everyone have that glimpse of that enlightened experience, you know. So it is those who practice understood and recognize that glimpse, and those who don't practice, they don't recognize. That is different. Otherwise, everyone have that small, tiny glimpse of experience of enlightenment in our life. So, and on top of that, then the death is one of the lasting, you know, experience of that enlightened quality. What are the things that actually we should prepare, you know, and also what are the things that actually obscures us or bring us obstacles to able to die peacefully, so to say, you know. So there are few things that actually, there are actually many things, but there are few important things that that we should know, and which actually make us difficult during dying, which actually make us fearful or sufferings when we die, you know. So one most important thing is practice of letting go, you know. So which is really important. When you have more grasping, when you have more attachment, when you have strong attachment, then it actually make any one of us, difficult to difficult to go. So, in that sense, letting go is really important, And I have seen so many people dying. People have requested me to come to attend when the people are about to die. So I've seen many dying people. So I can see how painful it is, how difficult it is when you have you couldn't let go, or when you have too much attached, whether it is to your family, or whether it is to your wealth, or the place, or the house, or whatever, or the idea. So whichever you are attached to, that actually hold you and make you difficult during that period of time. So that is really important, to let go. Letting go is really important. And there are many methods of letting go, in different traditions. One is meditation, and there are many other things as well. In Tibetan tradition, one of the method that we practice of letting go is mandala offering. So I'm not sure whether how many of you are familiar with that practice, but we have a practice called mandala offering. So mandala means this whole universe. Basically, you imagine in your mind this whole universe offering to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So we have that mandala, which is made by, some are made by silver, some are bronze, they are round in shape, and few stacks. So that is a symbol of a universe, including sun and moon and all the planets and stuff. So offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So that practice is considered very effective, in our tradition, and we practice that when we are alive. When we are alive, we practice for accumulation of, especially to accumulation of merit and purification of defilements. We do that practice. So now, when go back to dying, so when you are dying during that moment, then there is a practice of a mandala offering that when you are imagine that you are lying down and you are about to die, and then in front of you visualize all the things that belongs to you, or even not belong to you, but you are still attached. All of that you just imagine in front of you, and including your wealth, your house, or your family, or your siblings or children, or whoever it is you are attaching to, and you offer them to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then you just let go, and you just satisfied You just satisfied that you have offered them to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then you just let go. So that's a very powerful practice of mandala offering at the end of our life, and it's also very helpful for the letting go. And then second one is bodhicitta. It is similar like compassion, but not really exactly same. Loving and compassion. Loving is, loving is like you love someone to have happiness, someone to experience happiness. That is love. Compassion is when you wish someone to free from suffering. That is compassion. But bodhicitta is even little different. It is you wishing not just you alone, but you wishing all sentient beings free from samsara and achieve the ultimate enlightenment. So just wishing all sentient beings free from suffering alone is not bodhicitta, and on top of that, you wish them to achieve ultimate enlightenment. So that is bodhicitta. It looks like compassion, but it's a little different. So bodhicitta is really important at that moment of time. So when you are about to die, you are not just worry and think about yourself. It often happen. I also seen many people when they die, they complain something like, why it happened on me, why it happened to me, and they complain like that. And also sometimes because of not having bodhicitta and because of self-esteem, some people, they feel anger, simply feel angry on their illness, simply feel angry on what they are going through. So in that way, the anger can come at that moment, complaint can come at that moment, attachment can also come at that moment, and these are all something that we don't want at that moment, at moment of time. So to not have all these emotion, the bodhicitta practice is really helpful, very effective. So bodhicitta practice means, when we die, when we are about to die, not complaining and not feeling anger about your situation. Instead, in fact, you are motivating yourself to even at that moment of time, motivate yourself to benefit other sentient beings. Compassion, feel compassion to other beings, and also practice something like take that occasion, that experience as an opportunity to understand the suffering of all sentient beings of their death, and take that opportunity as your Dhamma practice. Take that pain as your Dhamma practice, support of your Dhamma practice. Take that suffering as your support of your Dhamma practice, such that all the sentient beings who are going through similar, suffering, may they, may they purify through my experience, through this experience. May they all, ripen on this pain and this suffering, and may they don't have that suffering. So that sort of bodhicitta practice, if we have, again, that will really not only will not only have other negative emotions, but it will make your mind calm, relax, and rest, and give you strength to have a devotion. Give us our mind a strength to meditate. Give our mind a strength to think what is benefit to us, rather than to think and to worry about that state and unable to practice. According to this tradition, there are I have to say these things together with today's topic, art of dying. We call it bardo. Actually bardo. Bardo means intermediate state. We call it intermediate state, bardo. Or gap, not the cloth company. The gap, the real gap. So the clothes are not gap. It is a substance. It's a thing. So real gap. So bardo means the gap or the intermediate state. So basically, gap or that bardo, there's nothing which is not a gap, or which is not a intermediate state. So we have these 6 bardo, 6 intermediate state. So chene bardo means living bardo, which means when you are born, since from when you are born until you die. So that is called chene bardo, or living bardo. We call it living bardo. Then another bardo is chiga bardo. Chiga bardo means near death, the process of dying. We are not yet dead, but process of dying. So until you die, the process of dying until you die, that is called near-death bardo. That is the second bardo. And third bardo is chuni bardo. Chuni bardo means when somebody dies, then what that person experiences is true nature of mind. Experience of true nature of mind, experience of true nature of ourselves. At that moment, everything is ceased. Our physical body, which is composition of 4 elements, are ceased, stopped. Our thoughts are also ceased. our sensory mind, our sensory object and all these cease. So at that moment what remain is the unchangeable nature that we possess. So that moment, moment of that is called Chuni Pardo, or the Pardo of luminosity. Pardo of luminosity. Then the fourth one is Siva Pardo. So Siva Pardo means Pardo of becoming. We call it Pardo of becoming. So then, after the Pardo of luminosity, then we again begin to have all these dualistic experience gradually, until we take another birth. We can be in that Pardo state for 49 days or even less, some case. So that Pardo is called becoming Pardo. And then there is a Pardo called Melam Pardo. Melam Pardo means so when we sleep and until we wake up. So since when we sleep until we wake up, that is called Melam Pardo. Melam Pardo means Pardo of dream. We call it Pardo of dream. And then there is another called Pardo of meditation. Pardo of samadhi. So when someone go deep into meditation until they woke up from that meditation or got up from that meditation, that unwandering state of mind, that gap is called Pardo of meditation. So generally there are 6 Pardo, and these Melam Pardo, the Pardo of what? Dream and Pardo of meditations comes under the Pardo of living. They are both part of Pardo of living. As I mentioned, Pardo of living is when we are born and until we die. So in that Pardo of living, there is a Pardo of dream and as well as Pardo of meditation. So in that way, there are 6 Pardo. 6 Pardo. So I will not go through all other Pardos because today's topic is related to Pardo of dying and Pardo of luminosity and Pardo of becoming. I think these 3. So we will talk a little bit about that. And actually, whether to become smooth Pardo of dying or Pardo of death or Pardo of luminosity and Pardo of becoming, how positive these Pardos goes is very much related to Pardo of living. How you live, how much you are prepared, how committed you are in your practice, how compassionate you are, how devoted you are. This all matters. It will not come. You will not. We will all not become all of a sudden great at that moment of time. So it's not like that. So Pardo of living is really important. So now Pardo of dying. So as I mentioned before, generally those are important. As I mentioned, letting go, It's really important, and their method, as I mentioned, one method, the offering of mandala, which is really effective and helpful, and compassion and bodhicitta practice at that moment. So what happened is when we die, actually our body is a combination of nothing but is a combination of this element, the four element or the five element, including the space element, which is five element. So it is a combination of these five or four or five element, and what happened is when we die, these elements start to decay, and there's steps we can experience, and these elements actually decay and it dissolve, so it start to dissolving. So, and there are signs that we can notice, when someone is dying, how their elements, how our elements, oneself's elements is dissolving from one element to another element. So first thing, when the earth, the first one is earth, the earth, when the earth element is dissolved, there are many signs, but then the person feel very heavy, and it is said that you feel like, the sinking the stone inside the water, so you feel like you are falling down. So I'm sure many of you have experienced that, especially if you see people dying, they will, experience that, and they keep asking, they keep telling you that, please lift me up, I'm falling, even though they are not falling. But then in their experience, they feel like they are falling, even though they are in very safe bed, they still feel like they are falling, So there is the one sign that the earth element dissolve into the water element. So then when the water element dissolves, the second one is water element dissolve into the fire element. So when the water element dissolve into the fire element, then you feel thirsty. So again, I'm sure many of you have experienced that when somebody is dying, they feel really thirsty. They will keep telling, if they can say that, then they keep saying that they need more water. So they feel like they are really thirsty. So that is the sign that water element is dissolving into the fire element. And then fire element. So when the fire element dissolves into the air, so when the fire element dissolves into the wind or the air, then what happens is the person's body become cold, especially when you touch the feet, touch the hand, it is all, you will feel the cold, very, very cold there. So that is the sign of water element dissolving, the fire element dissolving into the air. And then at the end, the air element, when the air element dissolves, then slowly the breathing change. the rhythm of breathing change. Find more difficult in breathing in. So as soon as you breathe out, you struggle to breathe in. So there is a struggle there. So that time it is a sign that your air element is dissolving. Then these 4 elements dissolve. At the same time, after that, then we call it Nangche Topsum, and then Nyertop, the four state of dying process. So this one is a little bit subtle, subtle than this element dissolution, because element dissolution you can feel, the person who is dying can also feel, and also other people who notice, who see that person can also notice. So when your water element dry, they dissolve, the other person will see that your mouth area especially are all dry up, cracked. So this one is little more gross compared to what I just mentioned, Nangche Topsum. This Nangche Topsum is more detailed or more subtle, basically more subtle process of dissolution. So Nangche Topsum in Tibetan, it is Nangche Topsum, but in English it is translated as appearance. Chepa is increase, and Topba means attainment. Appearance, increase, and attainment. And then Nyertop, there's another one that is called full attainment. So these 4 states is can be the subtle, changes or the subtle experience at that time. So Nangche Topsum, and so it is subtle because the person who is going through that process, who is dying, can experience that. Can experience that Nangche Topsum. So what happened at that moment is, that time there are few signs. It is mentioned like the sign of outer sign and the inner sign, kind of thing. But what happened at that moment during the appearance, or the first one, is the person feel like you feel like your experience is like there is a moon shine, and then the inner experience is you experience like a smoke, So why you have outer experience like that is because the experience of this life is slowly disappearing, and you are getting closer to the, which I mentioned, that unchangeable nature, luminous mind. So outwardly you feel like the mild light, like a moonlight, still there, but innerly you experience like a smoke. You are not yet there to the luminous, but you experience like a smoke. So when you see when you are close to the fire, you see the smoke first. So something like that. So you see the smoke. So at that time, what happened is, at that time, all the emotion which is related to the anger, which is the root poison, anger of 3. So all there are, 33 of them, the different emotion which is connected to anger. So these will all dissolve that time, during the Nawa time, during the increased time. So what happened is, outside you have an experience of the moon light, and then innerly you have an experience of the smoke, and at that moment the 33 emotions which is related to root poison, which is anger, will disappear, at that time. Not because of your meditation, not because of power of your practice, but it happens to everyone, whether you are a practitioner, whether you are not practitioner, it is fair to everyone. It happens to everyone. Okay, then the second one is Nawa, then Chepa. So Chepa, during the Chepa time, outer experience is the moon. During the increased time, then what you experience is your inner experience. We go to inner experience. We don't go all the experience, but inner experience is you feel like the firefly. So at that time, what happened is your the emotion, the 40 emotion which is related to attachment, the root poison, dissolve at that moment, disappear, or the dissolve at that moment. So that is not bad. That is actually this time you dissolve all your anger, dissolve all your attachment, dissolve this, base of suffering, this body, So it's a good time. So dissolve the attachment at that moment. And then third one, Thopa. Thopa means attainment. Then attainment, then outwardly you feel like totally dark. You feel like dark. Then in the inside, you feel like the lamp, which is not blown or moved by the wind, a stable, steady lamp. So you experience like that at that moment. So at that time, the emotion which is related to ignorant, there are 7 of them, also dissolve at that time. Now your anger is gone, your attachment is gone, your ignorant is gone, So it's okay if your body is also gone. Yeah. So it's all gone. So you feel like that lamp, experience like that. So fourth one is, we call it mother luminosity, and what we experience right now when we are living as a result of meditation of true nature of our mind is called sun luminosity. So when we are alive, we we experience, similar of that mother luminosity is called sun luminosity. I don't know how compatible these these words are with you, but in this tradition we call it sun luminosity. Sun, S-O-N. And then when we actually die, the true nature of mind that everyone possesses and everyone have chance at that moment of that experience is called mother luminosity. So if you give an example, then it is something like clear sky, the sky which doesn't have a cloud, sky which doesn't have any rain or anything. It's just clear sky, So, which is unexpressible, which is unimaginable, which has no boundary, which is open, and which is clear, So that experience, everybody can experience. So that is called mother luminosity. And then during that time, then we call it that time. Then you are already died. You are already dead. Until then, you are still not dead. But when your nangche tosum, when you are the appearance increase and attainment that happen, then there is no way that the person can return back. But even when somebody go through dissolution of 4 elements, if their karma is not yet happen for them to die, then there are some cases that people can return from there. So even your dissolution of 4 elements happen, people can come back, and if their time is not yet, they can return, and maybe probably near-death experience is also can be something at that time that happened. But once these nangche topsum, or the appearance increase and attainment, this experience already start, then there is no way that somebody can live again or go back to a life. So this is so then the luminous state of mind that everybody can experience, and that is called chikapar. I mean the one that I mentioned, the dissolution of 4 elements and this stuff, is called near-death bardo. And now this particular experience that everyone experience is called luminous bardo. Everybody can have an experience of that. And those who have affinity, those who have that experience when they are alive, they can remain in that state for a longer period of time. And those who doesn't have any affinity or doesn't have any familiarity with this experience, then it's just a glimpse. They will have just glimpse of that and then gone. So that luminous bardo, how long one can stay is totally depend on how well you practice, how familiar you are with that experience, and those things. If you are not that familiar, you are not having that experience when you are alive, more of that sun luminosity, then there is a chances that you might only have a glimpse of that, and not more than that. Otherwise, if you are, good practitioner, good meditator, then what we say in Tibetan tradition, tukdam. Tukdam means someone who stay in a meditative state. So even they die, they can stay for meditation state for like sometimes 14 days, 15 days, like sometimes 3 days, 7 days, without decaying their body, and their body can still remain warm. So I will share one of my recent experience of when my mother passed away. So she is a very good practitioner. She practiced all her life. So mostly chanting. She chants Green Tara practice every day. Green Tara, the chanting, maybe one chanting will take like 15 to 15 minutes, like that. She does 130 every day, whole her life, 130 times. And she chant Om Mani Padme Hum mantra. Every day she chant 30,000, never miss. So her job is just chanting every day. So, and she is very kind heart. She never judges people. Very nice human being, very good human being. And so she had a liver cancer, and then I think a year ago, the doctors say that there is nothing that he can do, because it is all spreaded. And then we took her to house. Then doctors say that she can't, they can't do anything. And no any medication can help. So there is no point bringing back to hospital. So what she can experience is she will have a swelling slowly whole body because of the liver, and she might probably vomit the blood, and she will have a lot of pain. So he taught us what to do at that time, like when she have a swelling, you do this. When she have a pain, give this pain medication, which is strongest one, and when she have a vomit blood, then you can't do much, but you do this, that, but don't bring back, he said. And then she will get confused, her mind will confuse. And that it's true, she get, worse and worse day by day. And so we were waiting when she's complained for pain and swollen and also vomiting the blood. We were waiting when will this happen? And no complaint, no pain at all. Swollen a little bit, but that swollen she used to have even before she had a cancer. Maybe because of other things. She's a little bit heavy. And no vomiting blood. She have a little bit yellowish because of jaundice, I think, and so no pain, nothing, And one evening, her breathing is breath is a little bit abnormal. So we asked, call one nurse. And she checked her, all the what do you call that, blood pressure and all the symptoms, nothing. Blood pressure is fine. Her blood, the glucose is fine. Her breathing is okay. It's not bad. And we insist, the nurse, to put the oxygen. She said, "Why we need to put the oxygen? It's totally okay." I said, "You see, she's breathing very hard." And she said, "But it shows it's okay, So, but then we put the oxygen anyway. And then that evening, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, she don't have a swelling, she don't have a pain, she don't vomit, and until last moment she went to toilet by herself. Of course we help, but she will, whenever she have to go to toilet, she will tell us to, at the last moment, till the last moment. And so that night we were doing some prayers. I was giving some advice and giving some empowerment. I was just next to her. I know she's dying then, but there is no pain. We didn't give a single pain medicines. And that day, little different, strange thing is that swelling that she have is all subside. No swelling. The yellowish skin that she developed is gone. Her face is white and red, So I know she's, showing the sign, And then I was just next to her, and she took her last breath. I give her some blessing pills, and she took that, and right after that she died, And we put 2 oximeter in her both finger, and then I was just doing some chanting that we should do, someone who died. So I was doing some chanting, and my sister was telling me, like, it is just after hours. Then my sister was pointing at her finger. And I was just not just neglect that, and I was just continue chanting my thing. And then after I finished my chanting, then I asked her what happened. And she's saying that her oximeter is normal. Her oximeter, the oxygen level is normal, blood pressure is normal, everything is normal. And she stopped her breathing almost 4 hours already. And my sister, she's very soft heart, and she just called her doctor that this happened, her oximeter is still normal. I don't think she's died. And the doctor said that, no, it is because you are her daughter and you are too attached to her. Sometimes you see like that. She said, that's not true, 10 people are there, we are all witnessing. So anyway, we remain her like that. I didn't remove anything. She was putting underneath the thick fur mat and blanket, 3 blanket on top of her. I live as it is. I didn't touch at all. And I touched her heart. It's warm, so I just live as it is. And then we live as it is like that for 3 days. No sign of decaying, no smell in that hot weather, nothing. So I'm sharing this experience because I thought it is related to today's topic. So once you have this kind of devotion, and whole life practice, then that makes a difference, especially when we go through that kind of state. Okay, so do your best, and I wish you all have that experience and that connection. Okay.